Welcome down the warp pipe. There's an idea that's been stuck in my head for the last while about Sega being quietly a powerhouse in the gaming industry. But with the recent announcement of them leaving the arcade scene behind, my buddy James from How to Game Differently reminded me that there's even some awesome arcade exclusives that they still have, hopefully with some ports. But today I want to talk about how I actually think Sega could, if they wanted to, jump back into the gaming hardware space. Not that I'd recommend it, or even become one of the more recent acquisitions in the PlayStation Xbox war. Ugh, yeah, that would feel dirty. Even Nintendo bought them would be okay. In case you're new, I'm Ty. But, I mean, if not, it's great to see you again. There's actually a deep-rooted part of Sega's business now that isn't heavily looked at. PC titles. Things like Total War. I mean, they actually purchased this just shortly before 2016, the Dawn of War series, Company of Heroes, and even the 2 Point Hospital and soon 2 Point Campus titles. And then there's the PC port of something like Bayonetta. I mean, here's titles that people don't always think of as Sega titles. Vanquish, which is here behind me. So there's actually been a re-release of it on PS4 and Xbox One. Unfortunately, there's no next-gen version of it, but crossing my fingers that we actually get that, because I want to play that at 120 frames a second. Oh man, the other thing I totally forgot about is Valkyria Chronicles, an awesome tactical RPG if you haven't played it before. But yeah, those titles actually are quite fun, and you should definitely check them out, as you can grab them on your PS4, Series X, or even Nintendo Switch, I'm pretty sure. Going back to that PC, we're talking also about Endless Space. That's actually a pretty big title for those 4X or Civ-like games. I haven't personally played them myself, although I've had a few friends dive into them and say that they actually had a lot of fun, although they are a bit complicated. Yakuza, which is also back behind me, has always been a Sega title. So I always kind of wrote off Yakuza games as something that was kind of Shenmue-like. And that's something that I always kind of wrote off back in the day because I didn't really feel that Shenmue was a game for me. I tried the demo of it on Xbox and it didn't really click. And I've been having a blast with Yakuza Like a Dragon, as previously mentioned in some of my other videos. But had I known it had a lot more in common with stuff like Streets of Rage, I definitely would have played it sooner. Also, old school games that are arcade based, like Virtual On, that I would have loved to see more sort of remakes, less remasters of, and actually get modern kind of takes and maybe modern controls brought into them. That's another game that, like, yeah, Sega has this rich history with fighting games too. Virtua Fighter, I mean, they're known for it, but it isn't really big and kind of sort of all over the place as it used to be back in the day. But they can knock out some bangers when it comes to fighting games and RPGs. Yeah, I kind of wish that those crossed over more than they do. Going on here, it seems like there's even some other stuff that's smaller that I'm not even familiar with. Something like Citizen of Space, I've never even heard of. Apparently it's on the, more recent last-gen systems, and it's an RPG. Maybe something I gotta check out. Sega also publishes a whole bunch of stuff like that. Also, a criminally underrated series is the Team Sonic racing games. Those, as far as I'm concerned, stand toe-to-toe with Mario Kart. The Team Sonic Racing Transformed is actually one of my favorite racing games that I've played ever. And that was back in the PS3 360 era. The later titles maybe aren't quite as fancy and are a bit more accessible, but yeah, that was something I put on par with Diddy Kong Racing. The Demon Slayer game by CyberConnect 2, very underrated developer for the most part. When they actually knock it out of the park, that was actually published by Sega as well. Even with that coupled with Yakuza, if they were console exclusive, I mean, let's be honest, they'd probably still be on PC, that's too big of a market to ignore these days. Yeah, I could actually see those as system sellers. And more specifically, if Sega were to get bought, not that I want to see them go that route, because I love their signature Sega identity and I wouldn't want them to lose that. Even stuff on the horizon, like Sonic Frontiers and a Yakuza Like a Dragon sequel, has me super excited. And honestly, even though I did grow up as a fan of both Nintendo and Sega, and had a Genesis as the first console I bought with my own money, here's the thing. I think I'm more a fan of Sega now than I've ever been in my entire life. So let me know down below whether I'm completely crazy or if you kind of agree, and what titles that you love are actually Sega based that people maybe haven't thought of as Sega published. And also, let me know if you would actually be down to buy a Sega exclusive piece of hardware, even if it was something small like a Dreamcast Mini. Okay, and I totally forgot to mention that Atlus is actually a part of Sega, so all those Persona fans and Shin Megami Tensei fans, think about that.